I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have public comment now. Does anybody from the audience have public comment? I see no public comment. So let's go to approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Prestos and seconded by Commissioner Kramer. And the motion passes.
Any discussion?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Motion passes. We've done that before. Motion passes. Okay, sorry about that. So everybody voting now. Okay, go to approval of the minutes. 6.1. Okay, leave it there. Right,
Consideration.
right. I thought I had to open that part. Okay, 6.1, consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission study session held on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024, and Planning Commission meeting held on Thursday, December 19th, 2024. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Commissioner Kramer and a second by Commissioner Nieberlin.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission study session held on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024, and the Planning Commission's meeting held on Thursday, December 19th, 2024.
Is there any discussion? Okay, please vote. I start voting. There it goes. The motion passes. 6.2, consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the minutes of the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee meeting Thursday, December the 19th. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes of the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee meeting held on Thursday, December 19th, 2024.
I second that.
Motion is moved by Commissioner Prestos and seconded by Commissioner Kramer. Please vote. Oh, any discussion? No? Okay, please vote. Okay, the motion passes. Public hearing items, 7.1, public hearing CA-03-24. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on a request to amend Sparks Municipal Code, Section 20.02.013, to allow manufactured home dealers use in the expanded number of zoning districts. Thank you, Sienna.
Thank you, Chair. Record Sienna Reed, manager. Would expand the number of zoning districts that allow manufactured home dealers to operate. This item does respond to City Council direction that was provided on October 28th of 2024 to initiate changes to the Sparks Municipal Code, modifying regulations that govern those manufactured home dealers. Currently, the Sparks Municipal Code allows for manufactured home dealers to operate in just one zoning district with an approved CUP. That's the C2 or General Commercial Zone. This use was added to the city's zoning code in 2015 with the comprehensive update to the zoning code at that time. And so previously it was not permitted in the city. Currently, there are 255 acres of land zoned C2 in the city, and that figure includes both built and vacant lands where a manufactured home dealer could potentially locate. As proposed, the code amendment before your consideration tonight would expand the number of zoning districts where the manufactured home dealer use is permitted. Staff is proposing that the manufactured home dealer use be allowed to operate with an approved CUP or conditional use permit in the PO or professional office and C1 or neighborhood commercial zoning districts. And that's, of course, in addition to the C2 zone where it's currently permitted with an approved CUP. If approved, the code amendment would provide an additional 100 acres of land where a manufactured home dealer could potentially locate in the future. In developing the draft code changes for your consideration, staff evaluated the manufactured home dealer use in comparison to other auto-oriented uses that are currently permitted in the PO and C1 zoning districts. That includes gas stations and car washes that are permitted in those zones with an approved CUP. And in terms of our analysis, staff analyzed the trip generation rates associated with those gas stations and car washes in relationship to an auto sales use. We use that auto sales use as a proxy for trips associated with a manufactured home dealership because the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual doesn't have a direct use for manufactured home dealers. And ultimately, what we found was that gas stations generate more trips than an auto sales use, and car washes generate a very similar amount of trips. And ultimately, it is staff's opinion that allowing the manufactured home dealer use to operate in the PO and C1 zoning districts with an approved CUP would be consistent with our current permitting requirements in the Sparks Municipal Code for other auto-oriented uses. And in addition, as you're well aware, the conditional use permit process does provide a procedure to evaluate the uses associated with a particular use, their impacts on surrounding areas, not only in a public hearing, but also with neighborhood notice, and allows that opportunity to evaluate each site specifically and with public feedback. So therefore, staff is recommending approval of the code amendment as outlined in the staff report. And you have a motion to that effect on this slide. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? No? Okay. Do we have a motion?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. This is a public hearing, so we're open for a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak? No? Seeing none? I'm closing the public hearing. Thank you. And so now, do we have any other questions from the commissioners before we motion? No? Okay, do we have any motions? Maybe, there it goes. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Kramer and a second by Commissioner Priestos.
Madam Chair, I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council of Code Amendment CA-03-24 to amend Section 20.02.013 of the Sparks Municipal Code to allow the manufactured home dealers use in the C1 and PO zoning districts with approval of a conditional use permit.
Second.
Okay, and now if you please vote. Oh, yes, thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? I see no discussion on the motion. Please vote. The motion passes. Thank you, Sienna. So, public hearing 7.2, PCN 02050, CU 24-0014, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a request for conditional use permit to allow for the installation and operation of a new industrial sawmill as an outdoor processing use and associated shade structure as part of an expansion of an existing lumberyard operation adjacent to the 4.98 acre subject site located at 650 Spice Island Drive, Sparks, Nevada, APN 034-07021 in the I Industrial Zoning District. Hi, Dani. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice Chair Rodriguez Elkins. I appreciate being here this evening with you and members of the Planning Commission. As proposed, sorry, one page ahead of myself. There we go. The site is located east of Spice Islands Drive and south of Gregg Street at 650 Spice Islands Drive. The project's approximately 5-acre site is shown here, outlined in red on the vicinity map, and is located in the Industrial Zoning District and in the Industrial Comprehensive Plan land use designation, and is currently developed with a 42,330 square foot industrial building. The business, Reno Carson Lumber, is also located on the adjacent 8.24 acre parcel to the south and is expanding to the subject parcel. So as proposed, the outdoor processing use would support lumber processing activities of Reno Carson Lumber by allowing the installation and operation of a sawmill and the construction and associated of an associated shade structure. The proposed outdoor processing area would occupy approximately 1,440 square feet adjacent to the south end of the building, which represents less than 1% of the total site area. Potential impacts related to the sawmill use are dust and noise and are mitigated through conditions of approval, which I'll speak to in the findings. The applicant is proposing to measure and cut lumber as an outdoor activity. The applicant already operates the outdoor sawmill, as we see here on the site plan on the parcel to the south that I'm circling here is the existing sawmill. Right immediately adjacent to the building on the south side here is the proposed sawmill. They are proposing to keep the existing one, and this is an additional saw. Lumber materials will be stored outside on the adjacent parcel to the south, which does have a site plan review in the past for outdoor storage of those materials. That site plan review, SP 000017, for processing, outdoor processing and outdoor storage. The saw location is proposed to be adjacent to that site. There's no there's no proposed changes to the building. The saw operation is about 114 feet in length and will be covered by a 16.4 foot by 90 foot open shade structure that's proposed to be constructed parallel to that building. This location next to the building is needed for operational efficiency and safety and a primary electrical source to power the saw. Reno Carson's Lumber's headquarters is on the abutting parcel to the south. There's currently a fence and a raised curb planter island at the shared property line right along this area here, if you can see my cursor going back. That separates the two parcels and prevents access between the two parcels currently. The proposed project will include removal of that raised curb planter area and fence on that property line to allow access between the two parcels needed for that operation. The southeastern portion of the site, we see here with this line, it's this portion right here, is located within the floodway. In the year 2000, a flood variance was issued to the parcel to the south. However, the subject site does not have an approved flood variance, and therefore outdoor storage and the storage of vehicles and equipment and structures is prohibited in that portion of the site located in the floodway per condition 11. The operation of the sawmill will produce dust and wood particles that will be captured via a dust collection vacuum device. The collected dust will be removed from the dust collector when full. Condition 10 requires the installation and operation of the dust collector at the location of the saw and to be connected to the saw via the collection port at the base of the saw. This site shows the landscaping plan that was provided with the application. The landscaping and irrigation infrastructure on the site has been maintained in a good condition, and the amount of landscaping area and number of trees exceed what is currently required by code. Required landscape area is 1,100 square feet, and 20,094 square feet is provided, both on the street frontage as well as throughout the site's parking areas. In addition, 11 trees are required and 21 are provided, both in the street frontage and throughout the parking area as well. The applicant does intend to remove a 1,762 square foot landscaped area, circling with my cursor right here. It's located in the parking area, and the applicant wants to remove it to allow for smoother circulation for truck traffic in particular. This requires the removal of 4 trees, which are already accounted for in the 21 tree count in the landscape plan. Now, one of the primary land use planning concerns with outdoor processing of lumber is noise. The code requires the noise be muffled so as to not become objectionable due to intermittence, beat, frequency, or shrillness. The impact of the noise generated by the proposed use is not anticipated to be objectionable based on those criteria. Rather, noise is anticipated to be minimal and typical of general production uses in the industrial zoning district, and no mitigations are proposed. Decibel levels of up to 87.9 are estimated within 3 feet of the saw, and up to 85.6 decibels within 10 feet of the saw. Further analysis demonstrated average noise levels to be 49.1 decibels at about 215 feet from the saw while it is in operation, and that would be the west property line. This noise level is similar to human conversation at the property line. The minimum distance from the saw to any adjacent property line is approximately 40 feet to the south property line where the existing saw is located. So the architectural elevations show the proposed structure in your packet, show the proposed structure that will provide cover for the sawmill equipment and activities, which is very similar to the existing structure on the adjacent parcel that is shown here in this slide. Structure will be open at the front on the west and east side, while partially open in the north side adjacent to the building and open on the east side. Colors will match the existing building in the ash gray and rustic red. So that completes the background and analysis portion of the presentation. So moving forward, there are 5 findings that must be made for a conditional use permit that the Planning Commission should consider. So the request is in compliance with finding C1 in the following ways. The proposed outdoor processing activity is a non-residential industrial land use supporting Goal MG1 and Policy MG2. The applicant is expanding the business across from an adjacent parcel. Facilitating this business expansion supports Goals EV1, EV4, and Policy EV6. The business utilizes the rail system to receive materials from a rail spur located on the parcel to the south, supporting Policy MG15. And the city's comprehensive plan considers processing and outdoor operational storage to be primary industrial uses. The comprehensive plan states that primary industrial uses typically involve more intensive work processes that may involve manufacturing or basic resource handling. Supporting finding C2, the adjacent parcels are all zoned industrial with uses appropriate to the industrial zoning district. The site is located on Spice Islands Drive and south of Gregg Street. The proposed outdoor processing facility is near the center of the industrial zoning district, south of I-80 and north of the Truckee River, where a mix of light and heavy industrial uses are located, appropriate to the industrial zoning district. Because the outdoor processing activity will be conducted on less than 4% of the site and will continue a similar use that was in place, this proposed use is not expected to significantly impact surrounding properties. For finding C3, natural resources are typically considered to be air and water, and this use does not produce any negative impacts directly to these resources since the subject site has been previously reviewed as a part of the comprehensive plan update process, and dust control measures will be put in place as per condition. Therefore, city staff does not believe approval of this CUP would impair the availability of natural resources or the region's ability to support its population. Finding C4 is concerned with addressing identified impacts, such as the following: noise. So noise generation is anticipated to be minimal and typical of general production uses in the industrial zoning district, and no mitigations, again, are proposed. There's an existing saw in the southern parcel that has been operating for years without any complaint to the city. For dust control, the operation of the sawmill will produce dust and wood particles that will be captured via dust collection vacuum device per condition 9. And finally, for finding C5, public notice was published in the Reno Gazette-Journal on December 31st. However, there was an error present in the mailed notices that inadvertently showed an incorrect APN for the subject site on the provided map, and therefore the associated map in that mailed notice was incorrect. Staff corrected the mailed notice and mailed it out in compliance with state and local law. Notices were correctly mailed to 51 owners of property within 500 feet of the subject property and 58 residents of a mobile home park on January 3rd. The Planning Commission meeting functions as the public hearing for this item as required by Nevada revised statutes and the Sparks Municipal Code. As of today, we've not received any public comment on this item. So this concludes my presentation. Staff does recommend approval of this item, and I've provided the recommended motion on your screen. And I can certainly answer any questions, and the applicants and their representative are also here.
Do any of the commissioners have questions?
I have one.
Commissioner Price?
Real quick, Danny. I was just looking at like on condition 7. I was just curious, is the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is that consistent with the other saws operation hours, or is that one not under a similar CUP?
I don't know for
That may be a
sure,
better question for
but
the applicant.
the applicant may know that. But they have reviewed the conditions of approval and have no objections.
Oh. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, being none, thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. Does the applicant have anything?
Yeah, let me bring that up for you if you want.
You could state your name.
Yeah.
You have to hold it down.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Krimpadik. I'm with KLS Planning, representing Reno Carson Lumber. Chris Flanner and his brother, they're the leadership of Reno Carson Lumber in here. To the question that was raised, we have reviewed the conditions. We're fine with it. I just was whispering with Chris about that to confirm, and we're fine with the conditions as presented. Danny, I appreciate Danny. She does a great job. She was very thorough. I don't have much to add. I really I thought noise analysis was a key issue, so I brought up a noise chart because everything's relative, right? I don't know what 50 decibels means unless I see it in context.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the way the site functions. And then you can see the quality of the trees that I have. They're weedy and not of desired species. And so that's part of the what was gone into that analysis. There's one there. There's another one there. But it really is kind of a weird feature of the site. And then I just put this together. You can see, as staff pointed out, 50 decibels is just below, right around conversation level, right? It's noted in this chart as 60. That's, again, at the street, so obviously the traffic would be a greater noise source than the saw blade 215 feet away. And then if you look at this, think we're right at 85, and another comparison would be, you can see there, no harmful effects, no risk, no hearing damage. But, you know, something similar to a drill, to sanding, or to a loud radio at the source, you know. So I hope that's helpful. I was just trying to give it some context.
Thank you,
to,
that is very helpful.
Thank you. So with that, and I think that covers it, yeah. That's all I had. Here for any questions, if you had any questions for the operation. And the leadership is here to discuss those as well. Thank you very much for your
Thank you,
time.
we appreciate it.
You bet.
Do the commissioners have any questions?
I do.
Okay, Commissioner Kramer?
How large is your dust collection vacuum?
I don't know.
Just out of curiosity. But, so where does it go once it gets full? I guess that's my other question. So just into like a dumpster? Okay. All right. So no, it's not harmful to anybody. I mean, just dust. It's like filling up your vacuum cleaner container and then you throw it away. Right? Okay. That's all.
Fair enough.
It's like, wow, that's got to be a lot of dust.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying, you know, sawdust. I mean, just curiosity is all.
I've heard of companies who like compress it and make recycled furniture and things out of compressed. Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Okay.
Another opportunity for you, I guess.
I had one point to make too. I'm sorry. Just point of clarification. This is not a sawmill, and I'm not the guy that needs to be right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is a distinction between outdoor processing, which is all the analysis, and maybe it was a typo in one of the slides that said sawmill. Right? Sawmill is production of lumber. This is just cutting of lumber. So there is a
Okay, thank you.
you know, you bet.
You guys are just cutting the lumber to the customer specification because they
That's-
come in and say, I got a 2x4 and I actually don't want it, 2x4. I want it to cut to this size because I got a project I'm doing and I okay. Okay.
You want to get to the podium here?
He's
Yeah.
got a broken ankle there.
Why he didn't. Sorry. We'll make you gimp down. Thank you.
Yeah.
May want to refer to exhibit regarding the power motor.
And sir, if you could state your
That's
name.
awesome. Well, you're talking to.
They asked on the side.
Exhibit 6. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Thank you.
And sir, if you could state your name for the record.
My name is Chris Fleiner.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do too.
So,
Okay.
did you have any other questions for him now that he's all the way
No,
down here?
I'm going to make him repeat it.
So the saw is specifically designed for cutting I-joist packages, floor joist packages to exact length. The practice currently is you cut it to the nearest foot, and then out in the field, the framers then cut it to the length. This is cutting to exact length, and we'll also be able to cut out the holes for the HVAC and electrical as well if they want that.
Oh,
That's cool, yeah.
okay. So it saves time for
Yeah.
out
Yes.
on the field.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none? I think we're ready for a motion. Maybe? There you go. Okay, the motion is made by Commissioner Kramer, seconded by Commissioner Nieberlin.
Madam Chair, I move to approve a conditional use permit CU 24-0014 associated with PCN 02050 to allow outdoor processing and the installation and operation of a sawmill and associated structure based on findings C1 through C5 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report and subject to the 11 conditions of approval as listed in the staff report.
Do we need to change sawmill? Is that the word that was incorrect?
I don't have a
Okay. Well, he had indicated that the term sawmill was incorrect for this application.
here that I have.
Okay. Okay.
Potentially, Mr. Sendall can weigh in on his concern with that.
I would agree because it references the facts as laid out in the staff report, and I think the staff report lays out what type of operation is going to be approved here, whether it's whether we want to call it a sawmill or just a saw operation. I think the fact that we're referencing back to the staff report appropriately limits it.
Okay. And so is there any further discussion? None? Okay, let's vote. And the motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Danny. The next item, 7.3, public hearing, PCN 03057, CU 24-0015, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a request for conditional use permit to allow for health club use over 3,000 square feet with an existing building located in the NUD New Urban District. My thing's not working. Sparks Crossing, zoning district located at 295 Los Altos Parkway, Suites 103 and 105, Sparks, Nevada, APN 510-08254. Hi, Cody. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. Just for the record, I'm Kobe Galano, and I'm a planner here with the City of Sparks. This item is a request for a conditional use permit to establish a health club use within a 3,500 square foot tenant space within an existing commercial building located at the Sparks Crossing Shopping Center. That's located at 295 Los Altos Parkway. The Sparks Crossing Handbook requires that any health club use exceeding 3,500 square feet, or excuse me, 3,000 square feet in size be subject to approval of a conditional use permit. The subject site is outlined in red and is generally located south of Los Altos, east of Pyramid, and west of Galleria. A little last year, if the Planning Commission can recall, we saw a CUP for Trader Joe's over in this area on the west side of the shopping center. The 3,500 square foot tenant space, suites 103 and 105, is within an existing building that was previously occupied by Great Basin Federal Credit Union. Staff believes the primary purpose behind the handbook requiring a conditional use permit for larger health club uses is to ensure that sufficient parking is provided throughout the development and traffic circulation is not adversely impacted. Fit Body Boot Camp is a boutique fitness studio that offers 45-minute instructor-led small group fitness courses or classes, and access is limited to members only. Advanced registration for members is required by the applicant for all classes, and classes are pre-scheduled up to 28 days in advance. The proposed fitness studio location has the potential space for up to 30 total fitness stations, and all classes are delivered by certified instructors. Exhibit 6 provides an overview of the layout of the fitness studio and the types of equipment that are utilized. Moving into the analysis. The applicant does not permit open gym hours, and as I stated, advanced registration for members is required for all classes. The applicant anticipates operating with 8 classes per day, Monday through Thursday, 4 classes on Friday, and 2 classes on Saturday, with none occurring on Sundays. The applicant aims to average 190 member visits per day, Monday through Thursday, 90-member visits on Friday, and 48-member visits on Saturday. The handbook requires 1 parking space for every 200 square feet of building area for a health club use. The handbook requires the same parking ratio for the previous financial institution or bank use. The 3,500 square foot fitness studio would require 18 parking spaces, as did the bank. For all current uses within the shopping center, the proposed fitness studio, along with the proposed fitness studio, the Sparks Crossing Plan Development Handbook requires a total of 1,629 parking spaces, and a total of 1,677 existing parking spaces are on site today. That's in excess of 48 spaces. Here's an overview of the site plan featured in Exhibit 4. I zoomed it in and patched them together. I think I told you guys that on Tuesday. The adjacent parking areas, most likely to be utilized for the proposed fitness studio, contain approximately 351 parking spaces, which contribute to the overall 1,677. As previously stated, the handbook requires the same parking ratio as the previous use did, the bank, which is 1 space to 200 square feet. Surrounding uses are restaurants within the same building and across the parking lot to the east, which have a parking requirement of 1 to 100. To the south are all retail uses, which have a parking ratio of 1 to 250. Staff carefully analyzed the uses within the vicinity of the subject site, which are primarily restaurants, and the proposed health club has peak hours in the morning, while the surrounding restaurants are primarily have peak hours in the afternoon and evening for peak parking demands. The existing shopping center was developed in accordance with specific landscaping standards as required in the handbook. This required the center to provide landscaping buffers along roadways and internal driveways, as well as around the buildings on site. And staff believes that these shopping centers are currently in compliance with the landscaping standards in the handbook. Exhibit 7 provides an overview of the existing mature landscaping surrounding the subject site and includes photos taken this winter as well as this summer. Here are some photos of the building taken this past summer. This includes all 4 sides of the building as well as one of the entrances. With the background and analysis concluded, I'll transition over the findings. There's 5 findings required for the Planning Commission to make in order to approve the conditional use permit. Finding C1 is concerned with conformance with the comprehensive plan. Staff believes the proposed fitness studio will advance goal MG1 by supporting economic vitality by allowing for a new business that specializes in instructor-led fitness classes. The fitness studio, staff believes, will advance goal MG2 by allowing the Sparks Crossing Shopping Center, to maintain a mix of commercial uses as well as offering new employment and recreational and health opportunities for city residents. Staff believes the proposed fitness studio will advance policy EV8 by supporting private investment that will provide a new service in this area, which staff believes can improve the quality of life for current and future residents. The existing 3,500 square foot commercial space is located within an existing building that was previously occupied by the bank. To the north of the subject site is another large commercial center, and to the south and west are more commercial uses within the Sparks Crossing Shopping Center. East of the subject site is existing multifamily and single-family residences. The subject site for the proposed fitness studio is along the northern border of the Sparks Crossing Commercial Center, more than 800 feet from the closest residential use. Between the subject site and the existing residential uses are large anchor tenants, various landscape buffers, as well as Galleria Parkway. For these reasons, staff believes C2 can be made. The subject site was previously developed in 2006 with a commercial building and no new construction is proposed. The potential impairment of natural resources and the total population which available natural resources will support was previously considered when the site was assigned a commercial land use in the city's comprehensive plan. The proposed fitness studio use, if approved, has a different building occupancy than the previous bank use. This will require a subsequent building permit for the change of use for the building's occupancy. This review will allow the city's building department to ensure that proper infrastructure such as improved ventilation and ADA compliant water fountains are in place prior to business operations occurring. Condition number 5 requires a building permit for a change of use prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the new tenant space. Proposed condition number 6 requires the landscape islands and mature landscaping throughout the subject site, both around the subject site and throughout the commercial center, are maintained to continue mitigating light and noise that could be caused by the potential use. This condition also requires the mature trees and plants around the subject building be replaced with comparable sized trees or plants in the case that any of the landscaping dies. The handbook restricts the hours of operation for any use within the development to 17 hours per day. The applicant is requesting operating hours from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. for a total of 14 hours per day. This is within the allowed time frame of the handbook. To ensure the operating hours within the handbook remain complied with throughout the life of the conditional use permit, the staff is recommending condition of approval number 7, which would limit the hours to 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. for a total of 17 hours per day, which is allowed by right within the handbook. This is intended to ensure that the proposed fitness studio does not operate during late night hours or early morning hours and cause potential disruption to businesses or surrounding uses. On the left is the current layout of the bank building. The highlighted area is the area proposed to be demoed, subject to approval of a building permit if this conditional use permit is approved. The concept of Fit Body Boot Camp is to provide for instructor-led courses, and as you can see kind of in the pictures on your right, it would be. It's not a typical gym. It doesn't have typical kind of fitness machines. They're more specific machines that have the instructors lead body weight and equipment-driven fitness activities. As previously stated, classes are for members only and no open gym hours are proposed. And finally, public notice was sent to 122 property owners and published in RGJ on December 31st, 2024, as prescribed by NRS and the Sparks Municipal Code. And the public hearing today functions for that requirement as well. As of today, staff has received no public comment. Overall, the reason for the conditional use permit request is because the proposed use is 3,500 square feet. The handbook allows for health club uses under 3,000 square feet by right and over 3,000 square feet subject to a conditional use permit. Staff believes all the required findings can be made considering the proposed conditions of approval for the change of use, hours of operation, and landscaping, and staff recommends approval. And with that, I'm available for any questions, as well as the applicant, Jason.
Thank you, Cody. Do commissioners have any questions of Cody? Seeing none, sir, would you like to speak at all? Okay. Do any of you have questions for him? No? Okay. And so it was public hearing. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, do we have motions? So close the public hearing, please. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Priestos with a second by Commissioner Kramer.
Madam Chair, I move to approve conditional use permit PCN 02050/CU24-005, a request to allow for a health club use over 3,000 square feet within an existing building located in the NUD New Urban District Sparks Crossing Zoning District located at 295 Los Altos Parkway, Suites 103 and 105, A510-082-54, based on findings C1 through C5 and the facts supporting these findings and set forth in the staff report and subject to these 7 conditions as staff.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I second that motion.
Thank you for the second. Is there any discussion? Okay, may we have the vote? Uh-oh. Very good. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Cody.
Thank you.
Congratulations. 8, general business. Is there general business? No? I didn't see anything. I went to. Okay. Okay, so there's no general business, okay. Oh, now it opens up.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 8.1, consideration, discussion, and possible amendment of the Sparks Planning Commission Rules of Procedure for possible action. So do we, there you go.
It'll be me tonight.
Gotta sit down there now.
Ooh. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners, Brandon Sendall, your legal counsel. This comes to you every year. We haven't really touched the rules of procedure since early 2021, where there was a fairly extensive overhaul, but under the rules, we bring this in front of the commission every year. This is the commission's chance to offer up any amendments to the rules of procedure, discuss whether to make any amendments. There were obviously some discussions during the study session on Tuesday afternoon. With that, I'll open it up. Leading up to this meeting, our office and planning staff didn't specifically recommend any amendments to the rules, but we are obviously open for discussion on any suggestions.
Are there any questions or? Go ahead.
I have suggestions. And I even wrote it down so I wouldn't forget.
Good for you. I think
Because I'm like, wow, I will forget this.
Do I heard
No,
a-
you can, I'll have Commissioner Kramer, since you wrote it down.
Since I wrote it down.
I'm gonna defer to you.
You're gonna defer
get
to
out
me?
the
Thanks.
first one.
Thank you, my
do the
dear.
second one.
So the absences. So let's
Yes.
start with the absences. And it's probably totally out of order in all of this. So as we discussed on Tuesday, we talked about 2 absences or 3 absences or whatever. And we just, and the consensus that I got from everybody was what's in the rules and procedures is very broad, and we have not defined what an unexcused absence is.
Yes.
So we need to kind of define, we need to be a little bit more defining of what that is. So to me, an unscheduled absence can be, but not limited to, illness or an unexpected emergency. I mean, and that's pretty, it's vague but not vague, but it kind of spells it out. Can be that. And then and to clarify that, to me, if you're going to be absent, you need to communicate with the assistant director, the recording secretary, and the chair no later than 10 days prior to the next scheduled planning commission meeting. Because to me, you have to be able to deal with a quorum. So because the notice, Jolene, the notice goes out 7 days prior, is that correct? Am I correct in that? 10 days? So then back it off 15 days. So then, in order to be able to meet quorum, you have to have plenty of notice before you're going to be
The
absent.
agenda.
Before the
gets
agenda
posted.
posts. So the agenda, if you know you're going to be gone, you have to make sure that you are notifying these 3 people before that agenda posts, so that agenda doesn't post and then all of a sudden you go, oh, we don't have a quorum. So you're not wasting anybody's time and everybody has time to regroup. And if so, maybe it's you have to notify them at the meeting prior, the meeting before the next
And
meeting,
I think you have to define how you do notification.
Via email. Via email.
Or if you said notify in the meeting prior, is that notification? Or do you have to do it formally via email? We should probably define that.
I think formally, I mean, you have to,
Well, if you're at the meeting, when you're at the prior meeting, when you know that you're going to be off, like a conference or vacation or something, then it's on the record.
it's on the record,
Yeah.
because that's
That's what
recorded.
I was
Yeah.
thinking.
We could do either.
Both.
Either or.
Yeah.
So
Either at a prior meeting,
Either at a prior meeting, at the
At least
prior
a month
meeting,
before or 2 weeks before,
Yeah.
or
but
via
it's got to
email.
be before the agenda, before that agenda is generated.
Yeah.
I mean, you get it, and that way it gives staff time
Mm-hmm.
to say, oh, my goodness, we got, 3 people out and we can't have a meeting this month because
Mm-hmm.
we don't have a quorum.
okay.
Or whatever the case may be.
So that would constitute an excused absence if you get that notice out before
Yes.
2 weeks or however long we
Right.
decide on.
If you do it,
What was it that you were recommending at the beginning with unexpected emergencies or
Unscheduled absence.
illnesses would not
unscheduled
would not be
absence
excused?
can be, but not limited to illness or an unexpected emergency. That's an unscheduled absence. So that, and I think that can be at the discretion of the chair.
Mm-hmm.
To excuse those
To excuse that
unscheduled
absence.
absences.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're in a car wreck, it's going to be hard for you to call.
Right.
It's like,
Before
sorry I
you go
didn't
out
call.
and your car doesn't start.
Oh, no, sorry I didn't call. I mean,
Uber.
it's hard for you to do that, but you have, and notification must be made as soon as possible after that. I mean, somebody's going to make the notification for you if you've had an accident or something like
Yeah.
that. And you're absolutely, obviously, if you're a responsible adult
Mm-hmm.
or individual, you're going to make that call and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, my car didn't start or whatever. I'm so sorry, but there's a reasonableness in that excuse.
So you would like some discretion of the chair to
Discretion of
to
the chair. I think
determine
it's the
whether an
discretion of the chair.
unscheduled absence is an
It
excused
has to be
absence.
objective.
Yeah.
It has to be it can't be subjective. It has to be objective. Subjective is, just because I don't like you doesn't mean, you're kicked off. I mean, it can't be subjective. It needs to be objective in nature.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
To
I
your-
did a lot of thinking and a lot of research and a lot of going over this going,
Regarding the discretion of the chair, where would the chair make that decision?
I think the chair would have to, I guess the chair, I would think that the chair could discuss it with the commissioner and the the assistant director.
Would that be okay, Brandon, that they'd render that decision?
They render that decision jointly?
Yeah, because I mean, we're not deciding an application in front of the
No.
the PC. It would be more of an internal, well, me and you might need to discuss that, whether that needs to
It's my concern with.
be done at the meeting. Maybe it could be done during commissioner comments, noting Commissioner Kramer wasn't able to make it here because of an illness or whatever. and
Right.
Deeming it an
Deeming
excused
it-
absence.
right. So that it's on the record.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be cleaner to actually do it during the meeting rather than maybe having some surprise.
Can't be a backdoor meeting.
Yeah, surprise. Oh, you've had 2 unexcused absences and.
Surprise, we're
and then
taking you to the
there's-
city council and they're going to
Yeah.
kick you off.
Yeah.
I mean. Does that
Yeah.
sound fair? I mean, does that sound fair to everybody?
Yeah, now, are you going to mention how many?
So I say 3 and 3. 3 study sessions and 3,
No
In
more
a
than.
no
calendar
more
year?
than.
In a
No
calendar
more
year?
in a calendar
And
year.
calendar.
3 study sessions and
It's a
3
lot,
commission meeting.
That
Seems like a lot.
both excused and unexcused. 'Cause that still feels like a lot of.
Yeah.
It does seem like a lot of
It
meetings.
does.
25.
Yeah,
That's-
25%.
25%. And we don't always have a meeting every month
Yeah.
sometimes. No, let's make it, I'd say 2 and 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 and 2. I think 2 and 2 is
more
good.
reasonable.
2 and 2 is good.
3 and 3 sound.
So
It's
4 meetings.
4
total,
meetings
Yeah.
total. And if you know that you're going to be gone and and it's unexcused, it's the unexcused ones that you're concerned about.
So
If you know you're
saying-
going to be, if you know you're going to be gone, an excused absence, an excused time away doesn't count against those 2 and 2.
Oh, okay. I
Only
didn't,
for
I
an
wasn't
excuse.
clear.
Only,
Okay.
only unexcused
Okay.
absences count against those 2 and 2.
I was
And that
gonna
would really
say-
only be if you don't get notice into the, to
Right.
the chair and
Right.
Jim
Okay.
and the administrative secretary
Right.
within.
So if we miss a meeting because, and we've given plenty of notice, then that's excused and it doesn't count towards the 2.
Right. If you
planning.
flake
Okay,
it,
so the
What-
only is unexcused is the 4 meetings.
What if you have somebody that, is chronically missing meetings, but they're excused? They're going out of town here, they're going out of town there.
Yeah, I
they're-
feel like there still should be
Yeah,
a
some-
max
yeah.
that
chronic,
you can miss
chronic
in
missing
total.
is chronic missing is chronic missing. Then it's time to, you're gone.
Have
I
it
mean,
come to
it's
Brandon
But
meeting?
we'd have to define what chronically absent.
Yeah.
chronic absence is, I mean,
I think that's subjective.
that's subject, I mean, if
That's
you-
when we
if
have
you're
a
not, if you're not
conversation.
here for, 4 meetings, I mean, come on.
Mhm.
If you're not here for 4 meetings, and it,
Well, these are excused, we're talking
Well,
about
do we want to
excused.
have a limit on
Excused.
excused absences?
Right.
No
I think
more
so
than
too.
no more than 4 a year,
No more
or
than 4,
5 a year,
you know,
I
three,
mean, if
Yeah.
you're,
Or no more than
however many in a
4
2-year
for
period.
each. Or
Wow.
3 and 3?
2 and 2 for those 2, I think, because otherwise you're talking too many.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say two of each.
Because
Seems
either
reasonable.
you have
So-
time to serve or you don't.
So you're saying that either unexcused or excused, it's 2 of each meeting?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Because we all know when the meetings are. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we generally have a meeting the second meeting of the month. It has been very rare that we have that first meeting of the month.
Mm-hmm.
We all are pretty good about putting our vacations in
Areas
around
Yep.
that meeting. I mean, we're all pretty good
Sometimes
about.
you don't have control over
Sometimes you
those.
don't,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't. But for the most part, we've all been pretty good about scheduling when we,
And so if say you have to go out of town on business and it just happens to fall, can you call in by phone?
of course,
And that would count as a regular?
that counts as being
Okay.
at the meeting.
Okay,
You're here, you're present. You may not physically be here, but
yeah,
you're on the phone.
okay.
I
It doesn't
would-
happen often, but even city council members will call in sometimes when
Okay.
they're at League of Cities or
I've seen us do that
something
on,
like that.
I've
with a
seen us do that
conference.
on the workshops, but I haven't seen it here, so I wasn't sure if that was okay here.
I don't think you've defined, if you're saying that you can have 4 unexcused absences or 4 excused, I don't think you're distinguishing between unexcused and excused. I think excused, you should have more forgiveness. So unexcused, maybe you limit it to 1 and 1. I mean, if you're not saying, yeah.
4 and 4, like 2
Yeah.
unexcused, but 4 max kind of thing.
Or something like that. I
That's the
feel
one
like you
being
need to define it a little bit.
2 and
Because
2
there's
or
no,
4 and
then
4.
there's no punitive. It doesn't matter if you're excused or unexcused. You can miss that many meetings. You need to be a little bit more definitive.
Commissioner Nieberlin, do you have any thoughts on
Come on,
this?
weigh in.
I'm just doing the math.
Right, yeah.
Would be a more equitable. If you're not able to make that, then, you should reevaluate your availability to participate, and if you can't, then do the right thing and resign. Because if you're missing 25% or more of the meetings as an excused absence, and another 25% as an unexcused, are you really serving?
Right, I agree.
So are you saying you can have 2 and 2 unexcused and 2 and 2 excused? Oh, so you're, okay, so
So
you're
4
saying you
total.
can miss 4 meetings total, or 8 meetings
8, it
total?
would be 8.
That's a lot.
Well, hopefully, people aren't going to be doing
What if you
random
have,
unexcused,
what if you have
unexcused though, right?
4 and 4 excused meetings? See what I mean? It's, so you're saying because I can have 2 and 2 of each, then that's saying that if you're going to miss 4 planning commission meetings, then I need to have 2 unexcused and 2 excused.
But I don't, to me, that's like planning for unexcuses.
I'm just,
Yeah, and so.
yeah, maybe I'm getting into the weeds,
Yeah,
but to
because
me, that
unexcused
seems
is,
like-
you're super sick, all of a sudden, somebody dies, you have a car wreck. It's not like you're
Okay, it's
planning
not,
for it.
yeah.
It's, if you're planning, then you need to have an excused absence.
Right.
But if it's, something that's just completely beyond your control, that is when there needs to be some leniency and understanding. And
Can I offer something? Because right now the rules provide that after 3 unexcused absences, then it can go to city council for that commissioner's removal. And the unexcused absence is in the discretion of the chair as it's currently written. So we could remove the pre-planned absence as an excused absence because, as most of you have said, we plan ahead. It's almost always on the 3rd Thursday. We know ahead when it's going on. It really is the unexpected car accident, a close family member's death, something like that you cannot plan for, that happens the week of or the day of,
Right.
that you truly cannot avoid. Whereas certain travel schedules are more avoidable, or maybe we can limit those. My worry is if we limit it too much, then if there is a commissioner that has a close family member who's ill that winds up missing 2 meetings or something like that, that we get to a point where, well, maybe the chair doesn't want to refer that person to the mayor to have them removed, and whatever happens is resolved. And I don't want the commission to box itself into a corner where we're requiring something that maybe certain situations wouldn't really require, or we wouldn't want them to require.
Right. So it's currently 3 unexcused
3
Total.
unexcused, and
Total.
that's undefined.
total, right?
And it's
Whether
undefined.
whether it's workshop or.
And it's as
Here.
determined by the chair.
And so maybe for the
And-
unexcused.
And the
leave-
unexcused shall be defined as any absence without giving advance notice to the planning commission secretary.
Right.
That's as it's written now.
Mhm. And so what we didn't have was what the definition of unexcused was.
Right.
Right, and so now we have a I kind of like to keep it at 3 for unexcused, because that's, to me, it's like a blatant miss.
So it doesn't matter if it's the study session
Right.
or the planning meeting.
Right.
Because
It's 3 total
Right.
unexcused.
Three
Right.
total unexcused.
Right. And it's kind of like if you serve, you should be responsible enough to be able to either, unless it's an extenuating circumstance, which could be excused, you should be responsible enough to attend and give enough notice so that it's planned.
So are you putting no limit then on excused, or just
No, I
using
think
that
we-
at the discretion of the chair.
I think there needs to be our discretion of the chair. So let's finish unexcused first. So are we in agreement that with unexcused to keep it is, but add the definition of unexcused?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That look okay? How about you, Carl? That look okay?
Yeah.
Marilyn?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, so let's
Okay.
leave that, adding the definition. And then now let's look at excuse. So on the table originally was 2 and 2 for excused, correct?
Yeah,
Right?
as long as you give the, like, 2 weeks or whatever.
Got to
Right.
give them plenty of notice so that they
Right.
have, so that the agenda doesn't go out.
Yeah.
Right.
Can we amend that instead of 2 study sessions and to just say 4 meetings total?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
That's fine.
I'm okay.
Because
That makes
sometimes,
sense.
Yeah,
depending on the week, I could miss 3 study
Right, 'cause
sessions, but I'm there at the planning
Right.
meeting.
Yeah, I've had weeks where my
Yeah.
schedule, I couldn't make it on a Tuesday, but I'm gonna be there on Thursday
Okay,
night.
I like that.
So I think 4 meetings total,
Just say 4
regardless of what
meetings.
combo they.
Okay,
Yeah.
excused with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so they have to be, so it's 10 days you put the agenda out, is that correct?
mm-hmm.
So it's
So-
got to be before the 10 days.
So he was suggesting 2 weeks.
So
I think 2 weeks
14,
or
so it's
more
got to be
Yeah.
is
No
good notice.
later than 14 days prior to the next scheduled planning commission meeting. Does that sound good? I mean, or would it be better if it were at the previous meeting? For you guys, I mean, I'm looking to you guys to say what's better for you.
How much notice
How
do
much,
you want?
how much notice do you guys want? Because it's you guys that are gonna suffer if it doesn't go through, if you've got people lined up for that meeting. Not us, it's you guys.
Chair, through you, I would like to answer the
Mhm.
question.
Yes,
The-
please.
Commissioner Kramer, you're asking my opinion. I would prefer that it happen at the meeting in the previous month.
Okay.
The reason why is the way that our timelines are set up, for example, for a conditional use permit, is once we've deemed it complete, we have 60 days to get it to a public hearing.
Right.
If you tell us only 14 days, we have no option but to conduct the hearing knowing we won't get a quorum.
Okay,
Right.
And if we were to hear it potentially at the meeting before, we may have time to set up a meeting and meet the timelines outlined in NRS.
okay.
Okay,
so it's gotta
be at the
Yeah.
meeting prior.
Shelley, does that sound okay?
Yeah, for my thing is I have conferences that are scheduled, so I don't have any control of when the timing is. And so I know a year ahead.
Right, me
almost
too.
a year.
Right.
My conferences
So
are
it's
already
gotta
on
be,
here.
So
I can
notification
give
has
you
to
as
be
much
made.
notice
And
as
that's the
you
first
want.
thing I do is like, oh no, when's the conference?
Yeah.
At
Okay, good.
the meeting before,
Mhm.
At a minimum.
at no later than the
Yeah,
meeting before.
Exactly.
Okay,
And then that way
Well, I
everybody.
guess we'll write it as maybe 28 days, because sometimes
Right.
there are meetings 2 weeks apart.
Right.
But
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, we can say 28
No
days
later
prior.
than 28 days prior to the,
okay, that makes sense.
that makes sense.
Okay. Are we ready to
Cool.
move on to the next item?
Well,
I
Chair,
think there was
More
Sure.
discussion?
there would be a few opportunities here, in my opinion. One would be that someone would make a motion,
Okay,
because what's been discussed is not approved.
Oh.
While there's seems to
there you
be
go.
some good collaboration
Yeah.
and consensus, there is no motion on the table
Okay.
for an amendment to the rules of procedure.
Okay.
A second consideration, if I could so offer, would be to ask the motion to continue the item and have staff consider the discussion tonight, allowing us to bring it back to you in a format that you could consider and adopt potentially at your next meeting.
I like that.
Wasn't there
Do you
one
like
other
that?
item we were
Yeah, I
discussing
think-
anyways?
Also did,
With that rules and procedures? We had 2 items.
There
There's
was
another,
Topic,
was
if you want to
another
discuss it.
There was
Yeah.
a second topic. I was assuming that the planning commission wasn't interested in that, but that is correct. in the staff report, I did outline a second component, Commissioner, that I had heard over the course of the last year.
What was the second component?
The second component was
Meeting
meetings
applicants
after, outside of.
Oh,
outside.
Yeah.
that's right.
Hit it, Shelley.
No, I think we should first give direction to staff. And do we need to make a motion that
Need to
we
make a
would
motion on
like to
this?
go to give it
Not-
to staff so they can come
No, you
back
could move to
and-
continue it to the next meeting.
Okay.
We've got the direction, I think,
Okay.
without a formal vote, and we can bring back
So we
proposed
don't have
red
to make
lines
a
that we
motion.
think meets what the commission is looking for, and
So do
Yeah,
we, so.
but if you want to, if there is discussion on the meeting with applicants outside of a public meeting, you can
Can
discuss
we
that
add
now.
that to this?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so that was the second item is
Okay.
I would like to make it where we are not allowed to meet with applicants outside of our 2 meetings or separate. Or, so we
Outside
can't
of a
meet with
public
them
hearing.
one-on-one. How do I word this?
Potentially, Commissioner Reed, outside of a public hearing.
Thank you, outside of a public hearing. I would like that to be also considered.
I agree.
I agree. I agree. If the applicant would like to meet with planning commission members, they need to meet with us at the study session.
At a public hearing.
At a public hearing.
Yeah, okay.
And if they want to meet with us prior to the meeting, they need to come to the study session. No meetings outside of
enough
that.
direction
Is that
for
enough
you?
direction?
Is that clear?
I believe
Is that
so.
clear?
I'm not hearing a lot of disagreement
kinda
on
clear?
that. If any commissioners have any
Is that-
concerns
to-
about that.
To avoid the
'Cause-
appearance of impropriety and to create transparency, we will not meet with them at any other time.
Okay, Stephen looks like he has a
Yeah,
question.
just, guess question, thought, is this completely legal for us to make a rule that says the public can't have? Is there anything we need to consider there, or is that?
I think it would be, yes, is the short answer. I don't think it would be a restriction that the public can't reach out to you, and I'd like to discuss this with you. I'm at that point, if the rule is in place, and it is essentially what happened with the conditional use permit application last month, at that point, you could direct them, look, there's issues with me meeting with you on an ex parte basis, one-on-one, outside of a public meeting. It invites the appearance of a backroom deal. I would invite you to come to the study session. The entire planning commission will be there. I think that's the more appropriate time to make sure that this happens in the most transparent way possible. And it protects me, it protects you also and your application. So I don't think it's so much saying that the applicant can't reach out to you, but it would be then each of your responsibility at that point to direct them, look, under our rules, we don't do that on an ex parte basis, one-on-one. I recommend that you come to the study session where you can meet with the entire planning commission in an open public meeting.
And then I guess just if we do this, let's revisit it in a year and make sure there's no negative effects to it.
Absolutely.
And then possibly at that time, look at, maybe we can meet with them, but it has to have a staff member there. That way the staff's not excluded from the conversation, and it's more on the up and up, obviously, if they're, staff member there. But that'd be my only suggestion.
And that is the thing, you talked about, is there a downside to this? And the downside is, it can come off as a planning commissioner
Yeah.
not being willing to engage in the community,
Yeah,
and maybe an
just trying
applicant
to
wants
think of
that one-on-one conversation. So there is the downside to it. It's not illegal per se or unethical per se for each of you individually to meet with an applicant, as long as that's fully disclosed and as long as you say, I met with the applicant and I didn't promise anything, I didn't prejudge, I haven't made my decision and I didn't promise the applicant anything. But like we discussed with the issue last month, it can create appearances of impropriety or some sort of unethical conduct. So that it's not a clear-cut case where the law requires you to do one or the other. But if you want to put that in the rules and restrict yourselves, then that is something you can do. And actually, prior planning commissions, right, Jim, the prior planning commissions have included a rule like that in the rules.
So I guess with me being a commercial realtor, and I will have probably at some point, we've already had, one who will be coming, they didn't come here, but discussions. I always make it disclose the fact that, I am a planning commissioner, I have no impact at all with what's you need to do with one of our planners. But if they actually wind up here, I would have obviously met with them, because they're my client.
Yeah.
So how do we get around, other than me recusing myself completely and disclosing the fact that, of course, they're my client?
Well, you and I would have to talk about the specifics of that because it really is fact specific on each one. The general rule is you don't have to abstain, you just have to disclose what the relationship is. And at that point, if you represented someone in your professional context before it became an item that comes before the planning commission, then I don't think that would be a violation of the rule that we're talking about
Okay.
maybe creating. But yeah, that would just be a disclosure issue for when that item comes before planning commission.
Is there any other discussion? So we're going to motion to move this to continue. What's the word?
Do you need a motion?
Continue.
Yes.
We need
Is
a
there a
motion
motion
to
up here?
continue. So I'll make
Okay.
I'll make a motion to continue this. So
We'll put one up on the board if you'd like.
you bet.
Yes, please.
That makes it really easy for me to read. Then I don't have to figure it out in my head what we're going to do. I move to continue this item to the regular planning commission meeting to be held on Thursday, February 20th, 2025.
Second.
There we go.
We have
Look at that.
we have a motion from Commissioner Kramer and a second from Commissioner Christos. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we can vote.
That wasn't hard.
So now we have.
Right?
Where'd it go? Regional Transportation.
Smart.
Oh, my God. You know where I am on February 20th?
8.2.
There we go.
I will be calling in on February the 20th, probably from the airport. Probably from the airport. I just realized, oh my God, that is, I thought I missed the month. Okay. We're on 8.2, consideration, discussion, and possible election of a Sparks Planning Commissioner for 2025 to the Regional Transportation Commission's Regional Road Impact Fee, RRIF, Technical Advisory Committee, TAC, from the following pool of applicants: Marilyn Kramer, Carl Nieberlin, Evan Priestos, Mike Rawson, Shelley Reed, Ricky Rodriguez-Elkins, and Steven Sperber.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the commission. For the record, Scott Carey, Development Services Manager for the record. The Regional Road Impact Fee Technical Advisory Committee, or RIFTAC, they are tasked with looking at the General Administration Manual as well as reviewing the capital improvement program for our RIF program. This is a technical body. The commitment is about one meeting a month. A lot of technical info is presented. They would work very closely with our city engineer and our planning manager throughout the update The RTC is currently working on the 8th edition of the Regional Road Impact Fee Program, and the board is expected to adopt the 8th edition of the GAM and the CIP coming up here in July and August. So they'll be back before this board later this year. So we ask that the Planning Commission appoint its representative to serve on this technical advisory committee. I will note Commissioner Reed has served as this commission's representative since 2020.
Very good.
Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Scott. Does anybody have any questions for Scott? No? Commissioner Reed, do you want to serve, continue serving?
I think that somebody else has
Oh.
indicated that they
Right.
would like to serve, so I will gladly step aside and
Okay.
let somebody new,
Thank you.
after serving 4 years,
You're done?
good for, no, I'm not. I'm just saying it's always good to have somebody new and
Yes.
change,
Yes.
and
Were you
give
gonna,
them the opportunity.
were you gonna make the motion?
I thought,
I thought you were.
okay, I'll do it.
You should.
I move to appoint Carl Nieberlein as the Planning Commission's representative on the Regional Road Impact Fee Technical Advisory Committee for the calendar year 2025.
Thank you. And
I'll second that motion.
motion by Commissioner Reed, second by Commissioner Kramer. And is there any other discussion? Seeing no discussion, please vote.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I crashed again, but I vote.
What are you doing to your computer over there?
Wow.
Bad luck tonight.
The motion passes. Okay, so item 8.3.
I just want to point out that when I got appointed chair and I abstained, y'all gave me crap for him, but he abstains and no one even mentions it.
You don't have to abstain.
You don't
Vote
have
for
to
yourself.
abstain. Yeah.
Nobody said you had to abstain.
Yeah.
So 8.3, consideration, discussion, and possible election of a Sparks Planning Commission Chair for 2025 from the following pool of applicants in alphabetical order. Marilyn Kramer, Carl Nieberlin, Evan Priestos, Mike Rawson, Shelley Reed, Ricky Rodriguez-Elkins, and Steven Sperber. And,
Madam Chair,
yes,
I move to elect Mike Rawson as Planning Commission Chair for the calendar year of 2025.
Second.
okay, we have
He's not here.
we have a motion from Commissioner Kramer and a second from Commissioner Nieberlin. Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay, please vote. And
Down, but I vote
Okay.
aye again.
the
I
motion
don't know what you've
passes.
done to yourself.
All right. 8.4, consideration, discussion, and possible election of a Sparks Planning Commission Vice Chair for 2025 from the following pool of applicants in alphabetical order. Marilyn Kramer, Carl Nieberlin, Evan Priestos, Mike Rawson, Shelley Reed, Ricky Rodriguez-Elkins, and Steven Sperber.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I recommend that you, Ricky Rodriguez-Elkins, be elected as Vice Chair for Planning Commission for calendar year 2020.
I know mine did something weird.
Weird.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Kramer and a second by Commissioner Nieberlin, and it's still doing something weird.
You're weird stuff now.
It's tired.
Says I'm done.
So,
This meeting has gone on long
yeah.
enough.
So we have a motion and a
The system
second.
would never have survived 4 years ago.
Is there any discussion?
Chair, can we,
Yes.
Vice Chair, can we do a roll call vote?
Yes. So,
Usually we use roll call.
Aye.
Yeah. Well, before it was
Aye.
too big.
can I say aye?
Yes, yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Number 9, announcements, presentations, recognition items, and special interest. We'll go past it? Okay. 10, is there any public comment? Seeing none. Seeing none, we move on to, oh, hang on, my computer's now doing something crazy.
Hers
Right,
is done.
no, it's,
Oh,
there
here
it
we go.
goes, okay, good, thank you. 5 of, how many commissioners does it take? Okay, staff comments and announcements.
Just one, Vice Chair. Congratulations on it.
While it seemed long, there was a lot of good discussion. I think the
Thank
public
you.
process occurred tonight. I wanted to offer at the Commission Nieberline that my plan will be to introduce you to the RIF as well as much information as you have on it. Invite you to a meeting with our staff representatives of Sienna, Reed, our planning manager, and Ambersos, our city engineer, and bring you in and have a discussion if you'd like to entertain that. Other than that, Vice Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you very
There's a
much.
meeting, next week.
Yeah, understood, Commissioner Reed, and we'll coordinate with RTC to get that on Commissioner Nieberline's email. But prior to that or subsequent to that, we will bring you up to speed as we can. This is one of the first meetings as this process is just getting going.
Okay, and let's see, so now commissioner announcements? Anyone besides me?
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. And so actually, I could have sworn that I was going to miss having to miss, but what I'll do is I'll change my flight because I'm supposed to get here at 5 o'clock. So just in case, I'll come back earlier for the 20th meeting. And I'm going to be in Vegas at a Keller Williams conference. And on Tuesday, I will be in Vegas, but I'll see if I can call in. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I'll see if I can call in. Who would I rate? Would Jules arrange? Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, perfect, thank you. Is there any other commissioner comments or announcements? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.